Welcome to the ATBP Podcast. I'm Polaris, or Makoto.
I'm Tim, or Shane for short.
And I'm Arabaro, also known as Aiden.
Our friend Bean Fiend is not here right now. He's in Portugal, so we're going to continue without him.
Yeah. So yeah, with that out of the way, welcome to the very first episode of this podcast. If you clicked on here, I don't know why you did, but if you are here, you might as well stick around till the end of this.
Already pushing them away. Good job.
You
Hell
leave.
yeah.
No, you can't leave.
No, you're stuck.
You're locked in here.
You try and exit out, you just
There is
come
no
back.
escape.
All right then. So lads, we've got some topics here. First, I'd like to ask you, Aiden. I'd like to open up the floor to you. What are your opinions on some of the older games?
My opinions.
Yep. Let's start with 3 Ultimate.
3 Ultimate. So maybe we should give a bit of
The first one
context
you
to
played
this.
after World.
We should give a bit of context
We
here.
should,
So
okay.
basically, of the three of us here right now, I'm the newest to the series. Makoto's been playing this game since Try.
I'm one of them veteran boys.
Okay, don't get ahead of yourself, buddy.
And I kind of stumbled into it, but I was there before he was.
Yeah, you
Also,
you started with 3. So, so I myself have started with World. So, and I have also gone back since then to play Pre-Ultimate, 4 Ultimate, and Generations Ultimate.
But
So
we did it first, so we're gonna
Okay.
ask him some questions.
It's
All
not-
right.
it's not a conversation.
What do you think of the old worlds in comparison to the new world?
Okay,
Rise?
there is a lot of points that can be made here. First off, I actually did quite enjoy the old world games, and I also really enjoyed the newer games too. While I did start with World, I played the game, enjoyed the base game, went over to Iceborne, enjoyed the game, and while we were waiting for, it was around the time Raging Brack and Furious Rajang came out, that I felt I might as well go back and try playing some of the other games. So I borrowed 3 Ultimate from you, I believe, Shane, right? I borrowed a copy.
Yeah,
from you.
I gave you 3 Ultimate for
Yeah.
like a year.
Yeah, I had it for a year. So I basically, I decided to see what it was like back then. And so starting up the game, I was like, okay, interesting graphics. I actually, personally, for a game on the 3DS,
It looks good.
It looks really
Yeah.
good for a game on the 3DS.
One of the best, I believe, for the time in the series.
Yeah.
4 Ultimate.
Well, I
looked
mean,
much
it was
worse
the
by
newest game.
comparison.
Yeah. For Ultimate, definitely doesn't look too much different, but it's more vibrant. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. I really liked the opening of the, how they had the whole thing where it's make sure to take breaks in between hunts. It was a nice little touch. In terms of the gameplay, I went in there and it was so monster guns. Yes. So yeah, going in there, it was just it felt really slow at the beginning. That's my first gripe to that. It was definitely slow. But I understand why it was slow, because you're getting situated with it. It's just trying to ease you in. But I feel people who don't have as much commitment, or just are just testing a game, it's definitely not a great place to start in there, because it can really lose your focus really quickly. And especially considering it doesn't tell you which ones progress you. So you basically might end up doing all of them before you actually get to do something interesting. The fact that Yes.
I will say it. I had a lot more patience for the old world after I went to World and did all of the stuff there, because I could kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, it's definitely much easier to get through that knowing what you get later on, I think, is a big thing for a lot of people. But yeah, definitely, I think the aside from that, the most jarring thing about going into one of the old world games after only having reference to the newer games was definitely a lot of the controls. Because I actually, going in, I had no idea that they had completely overhauled the attack moves. I thought it was just the same, just a bit clunkier. No, it was, wow. I was not expecting that.
Everything was different back then.
Everything was, that was very jarring going in. And I think
how did you feel about the certain mechanics, like having to stand still when you drink a potion and having to flex afterwards.
I knew about that going in, so I was like prepared for that. But surprisingly, I felt it was faster than the moving, because like it's like really slow and has to go up. But like it's just that one, if like you have to get somewhere pretty safe, like where you think that it's like sharpening but faster is what I felt like. So that wasn't too bad. Kind of preferred it in some ways.
Yeah.
And it also added to some intensity. But I think the most jarring thing was the camera movement.
Especially underwater.
Oh, God.
I still just target.
Targeting? No. You can I don't touch that.
Targeting in Monster Hunter.
Who does that? But yeah, definitely getting used to having to use the touch screen to move the camera was like, that felt so weird. And going into my very first actual hunt with Great Jaggy, that was an interesting experience. But it felt interesting, and it was interesting enough to get me to like kind of keep going. And as I kept going, I started getting more used to how the game worked, and I started to understand why people really like these older games, because it felt a lot more about you observing and hunting the monster than it is currently now. It's still all about that. It still has that, but there was definitely just something more to preparing the hell before each quest, especially considering limited whetstones, which I was surprised about. I did not expect that. And the limited uses on fishing rods and also pickaxes. That was another thing that was strange. Fights were a lot more about learning the monster's patterns more so than it was, which was very interesting. But yeah, the fights were definitely a lot harder too because of your limited movement. So that's that. But
I actually wanted to ask
yes.
you.
Okay, but how did you enjoy water combat? How?
Sorry, Makoto,
yeah, no.
The important question must be asked first. How did I enjoy water combat? Because it's the best thing to ever grace this land. That's why. It adds so much depth and layer to the game that nothing else can do. It adds a whole layer.
You can accidentally target down, and then you have to slowly bring your camera back up.
Then just don't.
It adds simply so much to fights, and some people still think that Dire Morales still belongs in a game without it. It's just
almost.
We'll get to
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
All right, we'll get to that a bit later.
But I do want to ask you a question, Aiden.
Yes.
Did you feel the progression of power in 3 Ultimate was better or worse than the progression in World?
Well, here's the issue with that. When I did World, I did a bad.
Guardian armor.
I put on the Guardian.
Oh boy. Okay, let's say for Iceborne. Let's say for Iceborne.
Okay.
The progression was the difference. So what do you mean when you say that?
So in World, I always
He was
felt
so mad
that
when he started Iceborne and he had to wear actual armor.
I was not mad. I was interested.
I always felt that things moved
You were annoyed.
quickly. I kind of felt like, oh, okay, I've killed Odogaron. Now I'm gonna go fight Legiana. I'm not gonna use its armor because it's worse than Odogaron's gear, and I'm gonna kill the next one.
Oh, that's what you mean.
I didn't have to switch armor until I fought Nergigante.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, the power progression was definitely very different. With that one, I could just get a full set of something and then get on there. And it's also easier to get the full set of something. In this game, it's like, whenever I killed something, I would have to make the next piece of armor if I did not want to die.
Yeah. And
like, I had to be
like
constantly upgrading.
For the older games, there's a lot more focus on the progression of armor and weapons. Like, you always wanted to be crafting something. Whereas I feel like in World,
there was a
you want to make your
power progression there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely noticeable. It was also you had to spend more time getting each individual armor set, so that added more to your playtime. It felt like it wasn't just the monster, but there was also some stuff like, for some god unknown reason, you needed cactus parts for a Nibblesnarf great sword for some ungodly reason.
I think part of it's also prepared.
Gotta get the cactus in my sword.
For the fights, because old fights versus new fights are... I feel like new fights are a little easier. They give you more space to breathe, right? Like,
old fights, yeah.
Let's take Tigrex, for example.
And it's...
In 4 Ultimate. In 4 Ultimate, he was a menace. You would dread fighting Tigrex. In World, I feel like the only thing you really have to look out for is, with Brute Tigrex, is his one-shot roar.
You know, actually, I had a very different experience with that. I found him a bit more difficult in Iceborne than in Old World.
Really?
Because his openings were a lot more open.
I get what you mean. And his animations back in the day were very like static. He didn't really flow into anything, so he was more predictable. Like you could see the startup of his roar.
Could see exactly what he was about to do.
You could see the startup of his roar.
Yeah.
And I will say the exact same thing about Rajang. I definitely think Iceborne Rajang might be kind of harder than him.
I still gotta go with Apex. I still gotta go with Apex.
Okay, Apex is a whole other beast. So
Yeah, if we're going with just straight up Rajang, then they made Rajang a beast in World, and it was...
Yeah, there was no chill in that monkey.
Yeah.
But in terms of the games, I did very much enjoy the games. But the type of person I am, I unfortunately wouldn't sink too much time. Like, I play the games to the completion, and then I kind of move on for the older games. Since the way I am, it's like, if it's an older game, I won't spend too much time on it because there's already the newer game where everyone's focus is on, and it makes more sense to spend all my time on there rather than this older one, right?
Generations Ultimate.
Okay. You know what? Generations Ultimate. I'm gonna be honest. Games, there's too much.
You went into the game with the most content and only really wanted to play it to completion. But
yeah.
I know you didn't want to make this an ogre gun, but
I feel content doesn't necessarily equal fun.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah.
Because, like,
it's also
you could have...
about the feel.
You could get to fight Lao Shen.
But, I mean, it's also... There's always something more to do. There's something more to get to. And despite... I mean, you have to fight Lao Shenlong once, but with more content, it means there's always something to push towards.
Yeah, but for me, I'm a progression-based player. If I'm not really making that much progress, I don't really feel like I'm enjoying the game. So when I go into Generations Ultimate, and I have... Because I played Gen, so obviously I already have all of my gear from Gen in Generations Ultimate. So when I have the maxed out Hellblade Glavenus Longsword, and then there's all these new monsters, but they're in low rank and high rank, I don't really feel anything towards them to fight them because I already have better gear. And a lot of the monsters were actually in low to high rank. They added a lot of really cool fights in G rank, but I feel it wasn't enough to make me keep playing. I fought Atalka, I fought Lao Shenlong. Actually, was he G rank? He was, right?
Yeah.
Was he G rank or high rank entry?
It was G rank, I'm pretty sure.
Nakarkos is high rank.
Yeah, Nakarkos is high rank.
So I fought Lao Shen, and I fought Atalka, and then I tried to duo Fatalis with Liam. That didn't go over too well. He got one shot, but that's fine.
He gets one shot and he shuts down. It's done. We're done.
Oh, the first few days of World Elatrion. I remember that.
Oh yeah.
Lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt. That was just what ended us every time.
Good days.
Yeah, the good old days of divided.
Yeah, Elatrion back in the day was like, I feel like the direction of Elatrion has gotten a lot better. Because Elatrion used to just be, there's like tons of videos on this already, but Elatrion is just like, he doesn't even know what he's doing. He's just going to switch into an element and do a couple attacks and then fly up into the air. So you don't know what's happening.
And fly for an annoyingly long amount of time.
Yeah, he'll be in, it's like Azure Rathalos, but it's, he doesn't actually have any ground animations anymore. He's just got flying ones. So I feel like the clutch claw actually helps with that a little bit. Actually, that was another question I had. The Clutch Claw versus the Wire Bug.
Wire Bug.
Which you guys like more?
Wire Bug.
Wire Bug 100%.
Wire Bug 100%.
Clutch Claw, you gave me a good roll. Dual Blades, thanks you, but just the Wire Bug is
I want to
a
fly,
better thing
Makoto.
where you're not constantly getting thrown off and having to tenderize to stay meta.
There's also a reason I prefer the Wire Bug.
Yeah, what's that?
Because it leaves more options in the future. The Clutch Claw, it didn't really make it so that they could do something to the fights to like that where they could utilize the Clutch Claw. Well, they kind of could with like the Elatron throwing him into the rocks, so that's about it. With the Wire Bug, they can completely overhaul some like future fights that can like, because for example, the Lamadur, like he's big, he can do some huge ass attacks, but he was kind of limited to how big they could make him like do these attacks in because of how limited your movement was. But with the Wire Bug, they can make him like whole ass sweep like multiple like attacks while shooting meteors at you like in quicker succession and in bigger things, because you can just like quickly get out of there. So it's keeping the pressure on you, but it's also keeping the fight very fast paced. There's also Crimson Fatalis, which I touched upon in the rank in the top 10 in the top 14 monsters I want to see in Sunbreak video, where Crimson Fatalis, I think they could bring him back because he could use a cool overhaul. And his whole thing is giant lava explosions, AoEs, right?
Yeah.
So imagine that, but with the mindset knowing that you can launch yourself really far, and knowing that devs know that, so they'll take full advantage of the fact that you can do that and make it so that you have to do that if you want to survive, and just make it into a very kind of fast-paced fight where the pressure is constantly being put on you by this creature of destruction. The Wire Bug opens up so many possibilities for future potential fights and maybe even new mechanics and just being able to be built on. While the Clutch Claw is just like you go into the monster and you tenderize it. We're going to force you to do that until, like, if you actually want to deal good damage.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
While I feel like the Wire Bug is good, I really do like the Wire Bug, but my main issue with it is that with the ability to overhaul monster fights, like let's say like Rachna Kadaki, for example, you can jump over a lot of Rachna Kadaki's stuff. So they know that, and they make it according to the Wire Bug. So if Rachna Kadaki is added into newer games, like let's say World 2, how are they going to implement a feature that doesn't feel like the Wire Bug, or doesn't feel the same as the Wire Bug? Because what they're doing is they're trying to implement more movement. I think that's the whole point of these gimmicks. Like the Clutch Claw's more movement, Wire Bug's more movement. But how do you do something like that without just making it feel like the Wire Bug Part 2?
Well, they could change up how the monster works, right? Because you have noticed that a few of the other monsters, like for example, Zenogre is very different in Rise than he is in Iceborne.
Yes,
because he has a lot more huge AoE attack, like kind of more AoE attacks that punish you for Wire Bugging. So they could change up the moveset slightly to more fit, but still have the monster in there and make it unique.
Yeah, I
have a different problem with Wire Bugs, and it's kind of a difficulty thing. I mean, monsters are starting to punish Wire Bug attacks, and that's all fair and good, but eventually we'll kind of reach a cap of how hard you can go with that, and they're just gonna make monsters that can one-shot or pretty consistently two-shot you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of its only gimmick. And I think with all the mobility, they'll kind of have to look at everything that's happening and say, how do we make this hard? But with more mobility, it'll be harder to make the fights hard. And so they'll kind of go above and beyond to do that, which may not be fun.
Yeah, I think we can even see that in Rise right now. Like I've had this conversation with you guys before, but Rise doesn't feel difficult to me, but I've still died more in Rise than I have in World.
Yeah.
And that to me is like, oh, okay, so it's not that the monsters are hard, it's just that whenever I'm getting hit by a monster, I'm just getting one shot. It's not that they're hard to dodge.
Yeah.
Whenever I do mess up, my health is gone. Obviously, that could just be rust. It could be me being terrible at the video game. It could be any amount of things. But I would say that we're all pretty good at Monster Hunter. That's what I would say. That's my verdict.
Mm-hmm.
We've played a lot.
We've played a lot. I would say that we're pretty good players.
We're not good, but we're good enough.
Yeah, we're like in the top 69%.
Nice.
We're good enough to get through the game. But
I feel like they're definitely. It's not like they're running out of ideas, but it's sort of like a panic. They're sort of like, oh no, we've just made this creation that is super overpowered. How do we balance this? Make Zinogre one-shot you. That's how we do it.
Well, I think they are figuring out how to make this balance. Like, take All Mother Nara, for example. Like, I think a lot of the reasons Zinogre one-shots you is because, well, for instance, you never go around looking for Spear Bird buffs. You just go straight to the monster.
I don't need no Spear Bird buffs, boy.
and here
I don't need nothing. Hey, listen, I die the least out of all of us still, so I'll take that.
Yeah. Sure,
the
tell yourself that. Whatever
Bird
lets you
buffs
sleep
are
at night.
another thing I have
Well,
with
it's an
that,
option.
and I'll get into that later.
Well,
It's
the Spear Bird buffs,
optional.
it's an option.
It makes everything easier. But I
Well,
don't
then,
know.
if you don't want it to be easier, then just don't use them. Like, the option's there, you know?
Yeah, but it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that, because right now it isn't really an option. Because you said the reason why I'm getting one shot is because I don't have the Spirit Bird buffs. But if it was an option, it would mean that I could still not get one shot without them. But it's like I have to go around the map to get them if I want to.
Well,
not
I don't
get
think.
one shot.
I've been playing the game a lot more recently. I'm not getting one shot by the monsters, but I think the thing that throws people off is, or at least you specifically, is the monsters actually are played a lot faster. Because I just went through another playthrough of Low High Rank World just to do that with a friend of mine who I've recently gotten to the game, and then after doing that, I've come to realize that Base World is so much easier than I remember.
Yeah, it is.
And then I went over to Rise just to kind of play around with it, and I found out, wow, people do not give Rise enough credit. It's already a fairly difficult game compared to the Base World.
But again, it's not.
People are just.
It's not the speed for me. It's the damage. It's definitely like the damage that I'm looking at, because I'm looking at like monsters like Acnosom, like a low rank Acnosom. I remember fighting it, and I was doing fine. It was limping, and then it does like a super slow attack, and I'm just not paying attention. I get hit once. I was at full health, and I die.
Well, actually, I don't think that they increased the damage values of the monster. There was a video I watched a little while ago where they compared the damage values of all these high rank monsters that are in like World, Rise, and let's say Generations. They had them do the same attack. They were wearing the same defense amount. Like, they had the same amount of defense on it. And then they had them do the same. Actually, no. They took off all their armor so that they all had 0 defense. Went into this high rank monster, and for the example that they chose was Rathian. And then they had it do a Rathian run at them, and it did the same amount of damage. Like, it took out the same amount of HP from them being at 100 health. So they have not actually changed the amount of damage that monsters do.
Did they test multiple moves? Because
yes.
Yeah,
this was for multiple moves and for multiple monsters.
Kept some damage values the exact same.
Mm-hmm. But the point is, they have not changed the amount of damage that the monsters are doing. They just increased the speed in which the monsters are doing it. So sometimes we're getting comboed into these things.
I think the wire bug also makes people lax. I would say, because the wire bug, Wirefall is insanely abusable.
But some people wirefall into the monster, and there are punishes to that.
I've wirefell twice into Acnosom before, when he does his sweeping attack, and I'm just sat there looking like an idiot.
But I think it's less that it's like, oh, they're doing this thing. I think it's just we're going and approaching this the wrong way. A lot of people, we're just spamming the wire bug.
For sure.
Well, the newer monsters are different. Sure. But that's because they're built with this thing in mind, so they have more ways to punish.
Isn't now, because difficulty now I'm fine with. it's enough to be pretty challenging for an endgame game. What happens with Sunbreak?
Yeah,
how
that's a
do
good
they
question.
make this harder? How do they go beyond? Will we just get one shot every time? Will they be incredibly fast? Which might actually be the right call there. Just make everything fast.
I think it's gonna be that they're gonna add more moves, like because there's some moves where there's like too much punish frames for it, for the speed that we have, like with these wire bugs. Like the size of the openings in some of the other games, like were fine because of what we had, like they worked, but now we have more time to exploit these openings. So I think they're gonna make it so that they can do more stuff in between these openings. That make it so that it matches the speed in which we can go at them with the wire bug.
I think the problem is the abusability of the wire bug, to be honest.
Fair enough.
I think
one thing I do hope for it is they make attacks that use the wire bug more. Like Narwa and Ibushi, and All-Mother Narwa, those are examples where you need to use the wire bug correctly in order to get through the fight.
Yeah.
I hope they do more of that.
Yeah.
Where, you have to wire bug into this specific place in order to dodge this attack. Or you need to use the wire bug to get out of this. Or something like that. Something where you have to think about how you're using the wire bug.
I feel like we should, or I feel like, I guess Capcom should maybe take a focus away from how many wire bug movements we can actually do, and rather for Sunbreak make specializations of wire bugs. So you have.
Like, what do you mean?
Like you have like the base wire bug turns into like a speed wire bug, where you have 2 wire bugs and you can zip really fast. Then they should make like a strength wire bug where you can zip farther, but you only have 1, but you can do more with it. You know what I mean? Sort of like different types. It's like Kinsects, different types of wire bugs.
That would be interesting.
Because
that would be pretty cool.
That would be a way of not just outright buffing them, but changing the way you play fundamentally. Because right now, a lot of people are just using them as movement. They're not really using them as like dodges. From what I've noticed in my hunts that I've done with random people, a lot of people tend to just use them to get around and for their wire bug attacks. I don't really see people wire dodging, which is a feature apparently half the community doesn't even know about.
Yeah. I've taken a new approach to how I'm using the wire bugs, and I think this might be an approach that, like, just based on how I've been experiencing my hunts, it feels a lot more right. I've started playing it like it's more like World, in terms of I'm just mostly running at the monster properly, and I've just been using wire bug purely to wirefall, use wire silkbind attacks, and maybe if the monster's just like really far away, I use it to like kind of get to him during combat. But generally, I'm playing it how I normally would, and just like running at the monster and stuff like that. And I've definitely been finding I'm enjoying myself a lot more that way. It feels like the wire bug isn't all I'm doing, and I feel a lot of people are mainly using the wire bug. Not everyone's doing it and you're also entitled to play how you want. If you're enjoying playing just mainly using the wire bug.
Yeah, for sure. You can play however you please.
Yeah.
But just spamming the wire bug could possibly be a thing that might make us a little bit overpowered, which could get, and it's like harder for the monster to hit us when we're only spamming wire bug. It's like basically everyone's an Insect Glaive player at this point.
Yeah.
And the monster just can't touch us.
I think it might be a combination of things. The wire bug mixed with the Palamute. They added 2 incredibly strong options in the same game, and it's very jarring, because you have this Palamute that is like 4 times the speed of a hunter, and then you have the wire bug that allows you to go completely vertical if you feel like it. So
now, sorry.
Well, I was gonna say it's not like a bad thing, but it's definitely I
There's
feel like it could get out of hand if they don't keep it kind of like controlled.
Well, you have to also remember that this is the portable team, and their whole thing is just experimenting the hell with the combat.
Yeah.
And I think with Base Rise, they found out what they do, they've got what they want to do, and now they're taking the criticism and they're learning from what they did, finding out how to make this a better, more like balanced mechanic. And I think in Sunbreak they're going to definitely fix some stuff. It might mean that they nerf some stuff like the recharge times of the wire bugs, because that might make it so that people aren't just only in the air, but also actually have to spend some time on the ground and make the fights feel a bit more fair and challenging. And just nerfing wire falling, so that way you actually have to like think. Because the whole thing was you could either choose to wirefall or use a silkbind, which could risk not being able to wirefall. But the thing is, it recharges too fast to have that choice be too important.
Yeah,
so maybe they make it so it has to recharge faster, you know? Like, just increase the recharge time. Yeah. You were saying something, Shane?
I am looking forward to see how they iterate on this in World 2, Monster Hunter 6, whatever they do. Because, I don't know, this is the experimentation, and they'll take the good stuff and bring that into the main game. So what does that mean for whatever's next for the main team?
I think they might take the Palamute. Maybe not make it as fast, maybe make it something more similar to a Raider ride in terms of how fast it goes, so it's not like where you can drift and then boost forward. It's just the fastest it can go is the sprinting, like just the hold sprint thing, where it's just kind of running, where it's slightly faster.
I think they're taking the Palamute. They might give you less movement options, but we'll still get something.
Yeah.
And I hope they keep switch skills, because that's a good mechanic.
Well, switch skills are essentially just like... The skills are essentially just Hunter Arts. That's what it is.
Hunter Arts from Generations. Yeah, they took the Hunter
so
Arts
if
put them in.
Yeah, so basically what you're saying is you want Hunter Arts back.
No, I want switch... Because Hunter Arts are a specific thing you can do.
They're chargeable
or one
abilities.
little thing. This...
It's just like an actual part
chargeable abilities.
Yeah.
Or Striker... I don't know, take out
Guild
the...
Alchemist.
Take out the chargeable abilities. Take out everything. Just give me some options on...
Yeah.
Does this go do this or this? Does this do this or this? Because that's good customization. And
definitely like not the Silkbind skills, but like the switch skills, like Rage Slash, or the one where you launch yourself with like the with the gun lance thing, like Valstrax, like how you do that. Things like that don't have anything to do with the wire bug, but are just a different way to play the weapon itself. That'd be really cool to see in the future. Now, just so everyone knows, we are not hating on Rise. We're just giving honest criticism. All four of us on this channel, we adore the game. We
love Rise. It's amazing.
It's great.
I think I can speak for all of us.
Yeah.
It's
210 hours. I love that thing.
That's
now that we're done with our kind of World 2 wish list, let's look at our Sunbreak wish list and
hell yes, yeah.
Fights we won, that kind of stuff. I mean, you did a whole thing about it.
Yeah,
I
one
did do
thing,
an entire
video. One monster that I'm a little annoyed that you guys haven't mentioned yet. Gogmazios. They added the whole rampage thing, which I enjoy. It's a little controversial, but I like rampages, and it's a nice change
rampages
of pace.
are fun.
But they also
they made better.
They added in all these cool siege weapon stuff, and they brought back the big cannonball. And this is the time where they bring back Gogmazios, because they haven't brought back any 4th generation final bosses yet, which is annoying because they're all good. But Gogmazios, you have all this stuff to play with, and you also have Gogmazios who could really punish Wirebug.
Well, because he's just really big.
Really big, has a bunch of tar that explodes, so you have to be careful.
Well, you can get stuck in it, and then you can't Wirebug out of it.
Like,
you might actually Wirebug in.
He was future-proofed. He was built so that Wirebug was, not... They didn't want Wirebug in his fight.
And he...
Well, no, but, what if you accidentally Wirebug into some, tar? That could be,
No, that's what I'm saying. They built him anti-Wirebug, so you have to be careful about how you would play with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because
he legitimately attacks the siege weapons. He has animations for attacking the siege weapons.
Yeah.
So all they really have to do is give him a few new attacks, make him faster, and we've got Gog Mazios in the game, and I just think that would be awesome, and I want to see
that would be really cool. But I do know Makoto has a few words to say about that.
I really do want Gog Mazios in Rise, but I've said this once and I'll say it again. I like grand entrances. I really do. Ultra 4K is my forte, and I want Gog Mazios in the best possible way that he can. And World 2 is my personal pick for that. I feel like Delamodor and Gog Mazios are spectacle fights. I feel like they would benefit from being in the best possible quality, and with the team more money. I'll keep it brief. I'll keep it blunt. That's how I feel about it.
Wow.
You're one of those.
I'll just say it.
You're one of those.
Just say it.
Get out. You're no longer wanted on this
I love Gog
podcast.
Mazios. He's one of my favorite monsters. He's really cool. I would like him in Rise. I feel like Delamodor would make more sense, and I'd prefer Delamodor in Rise. And I feel like Gog Mazios would make more sense for World because, well, I think Rise is a more... It's sticking to the more, like... How do I say this? So, I feel like Rise is more relatable to Tri, and World is more relatable to 4 Ultimate. Because World is more... It seems more industrial, and Tri seems... Or, not Tri. Rise seems more, like, village-esque, if that makes any sense.
It's all about the village.
Yeah, and World is more like it's very industrial. It's very built up. And what happens in Industrial Revolution? Well, coal, and that's what he feeds on. So I feel like we need that. Mm-hmm. That's my take.
I mean, yeah, if they keep a lot of the mechanics here, we could still have a good Gog Mazios fight. But I feel like he could be really good in this game. And honestly, Either way, anywhere we see Gog Mazios is a good time to see Gog Mazios.
Yeah. I was also going to say something about spectacle fights just in general. I feel like you want to keep it to, like, 2 per game. Like, from, like, older monsters, because the more that we keep it, or the more that Capcom keeps it from the audience and the fans, the more hype that's going to get built up around it. Remember when the Fatalis was on the anniversary poster? And people lost their minds over that. People were screaming about it. It's like, oh my god, it's Fatalis! I feel like that with Gog Mazios. Like, imagine it's in World 2, we get, like, Gog Mazios after coming off of the high that was Delamodor. Just imagine that. That's just what I'm thinking.
That would
because we also got Safi Jiva, Elatrion, and Fatalis.
Yeah, Safi Jiva.
World.
I mean like returning fights. Safi
like
Jiva's
returning, but like. We also could consider new fights that we could possibly get in Sunbreak, right? Like, people are talking about what they want, like, to come back, but what about, like, just, like, thinking about, like, oh my god, what new things could we get that could be really cool? That will then, in future, become one of those monsters that everyone's clamoring for them to come back.
I've had like, a fantasy. I just want to fight, like... I want to fight, like, a glowing eel in a cave. Just a massive creature, like a snake-like creature, in a dark, gloomy cave, and it illuminates the area. That's what I want to fight.
Like
I do like neon lights.
Yeah. And then we can finally
neon
bring
lights
back
are
torches.
something that I do like.
Finally.
Yeah,
I feel like, and there's no way this will happen, but something that can move like gravity or magnetism or something.
We already have.
Narwa can do that.
Narwa
does magnetism.
Magnet spikes.
I mean, yeah. But I mean, like, in a way where it kind of like, in a different way, yeah. Like, maybe you're floating, or all of a sudden you're like on the wall and you're stuck to the wall, and
that'd be kind of cool.
reorienting you. Yeah. So it disorients you, which you have to.
That sounds like a frontier, like kind of like amount of insane.
It does.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, do you guys want a new Frontier game?
But it would be cool.
Like a mainline
a new
Frontier?
Yes.
Oh my god.
I want a mainline Frontier.
Or just
I really do.
Remaster Frontier.
Yeah,
please.
Remaster it, remake it, do whatever you need to do, Capcom. Just please give us a new Frontier game. They look so fun.
Let us play Frontier. It looks so cool.
It's like Bullet Hell with Monster Hunter. It's amazing.
You guys know that monster that's from Frontier? It's like the 2 wolves. where its roar is literally just a TIE fighter.
There are so many. There's like.
Oh yeah.
There's Mephistophelion, which is like a chaos dragon. There's a Aruzarion, which is a fire, ice, and lightning dragon. Like, there's so much. There's just so much we could have. Shantian.
They have their own black dragons. There's that big snake with the
turtle. Laviente.
3 separate. Laviente, Raviente, 2 different. They kind of have 2 names, but like.
Yeah, same thing.
Also, it has like 15 themes. And they're all good.
Also, 16. That's an actual 16-player hunt. The entire lobby goes to fight that thing.
That'd be really cool.
And it's in one arena, and you can see everyone there. It's amazing. It's amazing.
But wouldn't they get
like
really hectic?
About 4-player limits.
4-player limits?
Really hectic. I think with the modding community now, we've seen how hectic things can get, and I'm okay with that if they're making a new frontier. If they do make one, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
And I would be fine with like an 8-player fight or a 16-player fight in the main games, because that sounds really fun, honestly.
Yeah,
it'd be cool to be in this big community.
The whole reason for the 4-player hunting thing, lore-wise, is because they took 5 people.
Curse of 5.
1 died. But there's no curse of 6.
You can...
so...
There's no curse of 18.
There's no curse of 18 or anything. 100-player hunt. I'm down.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
100-player hunt. The servers would actually die.
Ooh. Actually, no, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Oh no.
I mentioned earlier about a certain dragon, certain Dire Morales, that you called me out in your video on.
What do you I have absolutely no idea.
It is not my fault that Capcom designed a monster that is so hot that it needs to cool off in the water, and half of its fight is in the water with.
No, but you need to be open-minded about the possibilities of it heating up and making the fight more hectic. I mean, it'd be really cool.
But okay, wouldn't you rather you could still have a super critical phase, but still have it go in the water? Right? Like we've done things before. We could actually, Capcom could set up like a whole massive arena for it where it comes out of the water, we corral it, and then there's a gate that gets sent up in the second phase to keep it on land, and that's when it goes super critical, and then it's Fatalis Part 3.
Just do what they do in Generations Ultimate to get Plesios to come out of the water.
Fish him out of there.
Fishing rod.
Okay, hear me out. What if the water is frozen?
Frozen Dire Morales.
Actually, wait, I remember seeing someone do something similar where in the water, there's like these small, like little, like patches of land just in the water where you're like wire bugging between them.
I would really like that. I think that would work really well.
And he's like sitting in there cooling off, and he's like trying to like knock you off. It's like, you know, when the Batman Arkham games, that one Scarecrow boss fight, where it's like if he sees you,
yeah,
it could be something kind of similar to that. In terms of the orientation of how it like would work, like it's like
knocked off of things. Genmoron. That's a fight that would work.
With wire bugs, yeah.
With wire bugs, yeah, you could wire bug over to him. And I feel like,
like on the sand ships.
That'd be cool.
That fight needs to be done justice. Also, in the actual cinematics for Monster Hunter, when they fight Genmoron and Duranmoron, there are multiple ships. We are fighting on one of them. They could make multiple ships that have different functions, and then we could wire
like
bug
jump
over
between
to
them.
And then we could. I think that would be a really cool experience.
That actually brings me. That reminds me of a topic that you and I were talking about a few years ago, Makoto, or not a few years ago, a few months ago, about with like huge like monsters like maybe Ciatus, where like you're on a boat, like one person's like steering it around, maybe other hunters are moving between like cannons and shooting cannons, like just something like that, like where it's about the ship and manning the different things on the ship.
Oh yeah,
fighting these huge ass monsters.
Combat, where you customize your own
ship. That'd be like a really interesting thing, and I think that'd be pretty cool in terms of also building more soul into the world.
Yeah,
like these are actual things that you can do.
That feels.
You could also have like a sand ship version of that, right?
Yeah, to me that feels like something that would happen in Ron Dean's Kingdom, personally,
Oh
because
my
they're
God.
surrounded. I'm assuming they're surrounded by water.
Yeah.
She's a
Mhm.
seafarer, so we could have something
Yeah.
like that where there's gonna. I think there's gonna be a lot of ship battles. Personally, that's my thought.
Like,
if
if
I'm wrong,
Capcom even decides to go with that direction of these things, right?
if that's the thing.
Big
'Cause
if.
looking at her armor, I've seen you guys talk about this before. You guys really want like knight armor. You think that she's like a very knightly person.
Mhm.
She comes from a kingdom. Obviously, she serves a queen. She's a knight. To me, her armor looks more like conquistador. So I'm thinking more like rapier with like feathers and that sort of like very grandiose type of armor, but also
Kind of
cloth.
kind of like Griffith
interesting.
from Berserk. If any of you guys know what that means.
No, not a chance. But I'll nod my
For
head.
those
and
of,
say
for
yes.
those of you out there that do know, you know what I'm saying. You know, those who know, they know.
Those who know.
Those who know. Yeah. But yeah,
That seems really good.
but yeah, in terms of like, it's like definitely we know it's gonna be something European. Like it's gonna be like some sort of
Yeah.
European medieval kind of thing like that. Especially because England.
Can't wait.
But like, especially because we know that Malzeno is gonna be a vampire, right? What like that also opens up possibilities for other types of monsters we could get, like maybe a troll like esque variant of Gasarog, where instead of growing the ice weapons, he's like using like branches. Like remember how Virginia used to like shove his hand into the ground and just start like yanking that crap out of there, and then he'd
Pick up
throw it at you.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Like
that whole
he would,
theory.
like,
The
theory?
yokai, English yokai, basically just being fairy tales. So they'll do
Mhm.
that.
like
That would
fables
be
and shit.
really cool.
Like just a Gasarog where it's just like he's instead of blue he's like kind of green, maybe a little bit less hair, and like he like grabs like a whole ass like branch and like starts swinging it at you, you know?
Yeah, I kind of want
Some werewolf fight,
like
something
classification.
based off a werewolf.
Like a new classification of monster, you say?
Yeah, I kind of want a new classification of monster.
Hmm.
I don't know what it would be. They've covered pretty much every base.
Okay, hear me out.
A
Hear me out.
dolphin with
A
legs.
fight where you have a normal fight, but when it gets enraged, it turns into like a werewolf version of that.
I wonder how that would even work.
That would be.
I think that'd be good for Halloween.
It
Like a
it
good
gets.
Halloween-esque thing.
Well, werewolves are European,
changes
right? Like
a
that's the whole
bit.
thing with them.
It becomes all hairy and.
Like it starts off like as like a
Yeah,
smaller
I don't know, I
monster,
think that'd be
and then when it
cool.
gets angry, it like kind of gets a bit bigger. It's like It's like how,
porcupine.
well, like
a bit bigger, a bit hairier.
kind of like how Great Jaguarus and Tetranodon kind of change throughout the fight, like where when they eat
Yeah.
things and they get the big belly and their kind of
Mhm.
moveset changes. That'd be interesting.
It's a Pteranodon Master
Mhm.
Race. I'll take the Pteranodon.
The Pteranodon's ripped.
I don't know.
Maybe. I want there to be an event quest in the future where there's a Tetranodon, and the quest is given by the man in the white lab coat, ranting about this green-ass platypus, and it's like an event quest where there's a special layered armor set where it's a fedora.
Oh my.
That would be so awesome.
I would like more unique fights back, like Agnactor and Najarala.
I think Agnactor's probably gonna get back in there.
Yeah,
'Cause
I-
you worked there.
is.
And
I
and
also
also
wanna
that
catch more
like
new
the clack clack
characters.
clack clack clack. That's ear candy.
Yeah,
I want that back.
pretty much every good fight for me, like every amazing fight, has taken place in 4 Ultimates. So, like Kechawacha is such a funny fight.
He's like, and isn't that like the only game aside from Generations Ultimate because they have that map? That's the
Yeah.
only game where they have like the monsters hanging all around
Yes, that
on
is,
the stuff and then going on top of it, then going below it.
Obviously, with Rise, we have
Yeah.
Bishaten, who hangs off of trees.
And,
that was-
and off the walls.
yeah, and off
which
the
is
walls. That was
cool.
taken from Kechawacha, I believe. He's the only monster that does that. So, does he? Is he?
Yeah.
Is he the only monster that does that?
Well, he hangs. He goes
Technically,
like on top and
Gigadox
underneath.
does that, but it's not really hanging. It's more like crawling. It's more like.
Well,
walking.
actually, Great Azuchi, I recently found this out. He also does that.
He's got jumps like Jordan.
He jumps
yourself?
onto the wall and hooks his tail on there and just sits there and he like laughs at you.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, they could do something with that.
We need more
Change them
avian
up, make a
monsters.
variant that does that.
Avian. Well, like you mean like birds?
Yes, birds. Just
We have
straight up birds.
we already have tons of bird wyverns. What do you mean?
No, I mean actual just birds. I want a falcon.
You just want Kirapeka back.
Okay, listen. He's not relevant to the conversation right now. Kurapeko. Okay, yes, okay,
Keep
yes.
the
I want
boy in
Kurapeko
his
back.
corner.
I want Kurapeko back. Yes, I do. I won't hide it. He's really cool. He's more deserving for the spot than most people. Brachidios.
Hey.
Okay.
I'm right.
You were
I'm
trying
right.
to start
Brachiodeus.
something?
I'm right.
Just bring back Brachiodeus.
If they don't bring back Brachiodeus
We all love
in
Brachy.
Sunbreak,
He's been in
Bracky.
every single game. Like he's just,
and if they don't,
the guy hasn't missed a
My
beat since
selfish
Tri
hope is
Ultimate.
that they bring back Namiel.
if they don't bring back
Because
Brachiodeus, I
Namiel's
will
just
cry
cool.
real tears.
Bring back
I want to
Namiel,
see
Capcom,
Blast
please
used a
do it.
different way. Or Slime. I want to see Slime used a different way. Some sort of new Blast.
Kind of like Hellfire.
Yeah.
That was a very interesting.
yeah.
Definitely an interesting way of using that.
Yeah, but I don't even know
Yep.
how they would do it.
I don't know.
We need more monsters from older games back. Which means we need water
I don't
combat.
know. Capcom knows what they're doing. They'll do something interesting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Xeno'jiva, but it's again.
Okay, here's a thing that I definitely think Rise has over World, and it's something Rise has that World will never get, and that is an actually good final boss.
Yep.
Yeah, no, yep.
I
I'll give you
mean,
that.
Fuck
Iceborne has.
Xeno'jiva.
I
I
like
think All Mother
Sharish
Narwa is so
but
much better than
Xeno'jiva's
Shar
not good.
Ishvalda. I'm gonna be honest.
I like Sharishvalda's funny eyes though.
Them eyes.
Yeah.
But like All Mother Narwa's theme.
I mean,
Oh.
All
Good
Mother Narwa and Sharishvalda I kind of have in around the same place. Sharishvalda is better than just straight up Narwa.
Yeah, but like
Oh yeah. I'm not talking about just straight up Narwa. I'm talking about All Mother.
when you
Oh,
think of
Narwa.
like final fights, right, in Monster Hunter in
Mhm.
the entire series, unless you started in World, you're not gonna think of Xeno'jiva.
Yeah. You're
You'll
gonna
never
think of
think
things
of
like
Xeno'jiva.
you're gonna think of things like the Lamadur.
Yep,
Uh,
Mazios. Even
Ciatus.
Rusted Kushala Daora.
Alatrion.
Is Electron a final fight? No.
No, he's a
He
fight you
isn't.
can do. He's an urgent quest. That's the try.
I mean,
quest
he's
where
the
it
high
allows
rank.
for-
Isn't
to
he the
tread.
high rank final boss of the
Actually,
Try?
yes, he's the high rank online final boss. Sedeus is the offline
Yeah.
final boss.
Mm-hmm.
That's-
And then there's also
Yeah.
Dire Morales is a final boss too.
Yeah, but like
But-
There's
to
also
be
Chigara
fair-
Magala is a great final boss too because he's built
To
up
be
in
fair-
a perfect way.
Zora Magdaros is kind of the final boss of low rank world, and we won't talk.
We don't talk-
We don't talk
we
about
what?
That's
Zora
bad.
Magdaros.
Which monster?
Who?
Oh, no one. Oh, got it. Cool.
Got it. Yeah.
Oh wow, I had amnesia. Wow, what was that?
Yeah,
Shane, why
Xeno'jiva is
did
just-
you just say? Why did you just say you know, and then you just stopped talking? Then isn't he the final boss of it? Like you just what's going on?
A bit
You're
odd.
missing
Yeah,
something.
what
was a bit
happened?
odd.
You just didn't say anything.
It's a sad case for me with
Who am I?
Because I really expected it to be something cool, and then it's like it was something cool, but it wasn't something Monster Hunter. Do you know what I mean? It was like usually you
I
have
think-
some sort of realm of natural cause for these things, and this Xeno'jiva is like, I am born of the energy of elder dragons.
I feel like Altura from Stories 2 is Xeno'jiva done right. Because it's like, it looks outer-worldly, but it's like, it's done in a way that's pretty right, I think. And it's a kick-ass final boss.
I will not comment on Stories 2 or its bosses, because I have
Okay.
not played Stories 2, and I never will. So I'll just take your word for it.
You know, hey Makoto, guess what? Wanna know what Stories 2 has that
Okay,
you don't
no,
currently?
it's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay.
You know what you
It's
can do
okay.
in Stories 2? You can fight Seregios. That's
Okay.
what...
Actually, you know what? People comment on this podcast. I want their opinion. Is Stories 2 worth the play or not? Should I play Stories 2? Is it worth the money? My guess is probably not. But I'll see.
if this is the only way that we get you to actually try the game, then so be it.
Listen.
But if you guys say yes, we're making a series on this 100%. He's playing
the
Monster
Monster
Hunter Boomer plays Stories 2 and complains for 15 minutes per episode.
All right. I think
where
we wrap it up.
I think it's definitely a great time to wrap it up.
That's a good note to go off on.
To conclude it, yeah.
Anyways, thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. If you made it to the very end, thank you so much. And if you enjoyed it, maybe leave a like and stick around for more. We're definitely going to do more of this in the future because it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to get our thoughts out. And I think the most interesting episodes will likely come down to when new things are revealed, and then like we can just like actually just gush about the excitement. But yeah, thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.
They'll never find the body.
What?
Oh,
wait. What? Yo, guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.